let's start this. We're going to do a how-to for Kingdom Regent. It's going to be basically what the Kapora says versus what it actually means, and then some. And that's from me, a retired, overachieving 3-time Kingdom Regent. I apologize in advance for all the Kapora nonsense that I copied in here, but I wanted to make sure y'all could see what it said. And also, it has reference points too. So if you want to reference where it's at, it's available. And I'll also post these, excuse me, onto somewhere later on as well. Or I'll send them to Lyral and let her post them as well. So some disclaimers. The information given for this class is primarily for the Kingdom of Winter's Edge. It is coming from our Kapora, so this information may be used to compare across kingdoms, but it is most likely not going to be relevant to any other kingdom but Winter's Edge. It is as up to date as the current Kapora. I did put this class together before the spring Althing, but none of the Althing proposals changed any of the information, I do believe. So that disclaimer is still very much relevant, just in case, because I did not go back. Had too much stuff to do. Again, the reference sections of the Kapora will be listed within the material, and it's going to be in parentheses in the slides. And while an effort was made to put the responsibilities in chronological order as they appeared in the Kapora, some reordering was necessary to maintain a clear and more logical flow of content. It gets confusing. So let's start the confusion. What is regent? As the Kapora says, regents are officers in service to a park or kingdom that were either elected or appointed. So candidates should know what the responsibilities and roles are, at least before entering election or being appointed for that role. And we're going to cover that last, at least how you become a regent last. We're going to cover all the responsibilities and within at the very beginning. Officers of parks or the kingdom, they act as the central government and foster the growth of Amtgard in relation to each officer's duties. That makes zero sense said out loud. My interpretation is that they have responsibilities included in running of the park or the kingdom, and they encourage growth through those responsibilities. Growth can mean numbers, for example, so players, participants, volunteers, but don't forget that experience is also growth. And the way we record that experience in a physical and tangible way, at least in Amtgard, is through rewards. So we'll cover that as well later. As far as officers go, officers may remove a person from Amtgard functions for violating the Amtgard Code of Conduct. This is not a regent-specific ability, as all park and kingdom officers are able to do this. This just makes the regent able to remove a disruptive player from activities which they're leading and the other leaders or officers may not be participating in. It's not a player ban. It's just a pause, basically, of excusing themselves from a class or classes, a tournament, a bardic, or just certain areas of an event site. Just, yeah, sorry, got distracted here. The relationship between monarch and regent. I thought the picture was hilarious. Jay didn't, but I kept it. Regents are considered second in command to monarch. That is not technically in the Kapora. The purple stuff is my interpretation, just to make sure that's clear as well. But it does say that the regent should preside over functions on behalf of the monarch in their absence. So if the monarch is not there, the regent steps up and takes their place. This is often forgotten until people go looking for the monarch and can't find them. So make sure you are communicating with your team. If the monarch is removed from office, the regent can become the new monarch immediately and vacate their regent position. And then per the 0 officer rule, the regent will select a new, the now monarch will select a new regent. Or if the regent rather stay there in their position, they can appoint a new monarch instead. The monarch being removed or stepping down is very rare. It hardly ever happens, but it has occurred twice since Winter's Edge became a kingdom in 2017. So while it is rare, it still could happen. So it's a good thing to know um, what your options are if it should happen. Very, very long slide. So the realm of regent-specific responsibilities, again, officers act as the central government, foster growth in relation to that officer's duty. And the regent's realm is arts and science, or it's going to shorten down to ANS. And so you'll probably hear me say that quite often instead of arts and sciences. The first responsibility outlined in the Kapoor that is specifically for regents is that they are responsible for fostering cultural arts and sciences by coordinating and or facilitating related activities such as ANS nights, tournaments, contests, tutorials, classes, and other incentives to encourage or improve the overall knowledge of cultural topics. I believe that all this is outlined, the ANS nights, the tournaments, and whatnot, just to give an idea of what you can do. Um, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry. So, um, let's see. The first power outlined in the Kapoor. I apparently repeated myself. So let's unpack this in a smaller dose. There we go. So what is ANS? And that regents are responsible for fostering this. So ANS is going to include construction sciences such as armor construction, furniture, shoes, belts, weapons, anything that's a historical or amp guard legal, or anything that you can take a raw material and construct it to a finished, sturdy, and usable product. I gave some examples there of smithing or forging rings to make a decorative chain. Those construction sciences are going to be awarded in your OWL ladder. Garb creation is also included in ANS, and that includes tabards, pants, cloaks, gloves, sashes, pouches, or themed elaborate, intricate garb for a group of people. And these items are awarded in the garb ladder. And then other arts of avant-garde, such as performance, painting, sculpting. Basically, if you can't fit it to garb or you can't fit it into taking a raw material and constructing it into a finished, sturdy, usable product, it falls into the dragon ladder. Um, I've got a keyboard underneath my keyboard and I keep wanting to use it. Sorry. Before I continue on, are there any questions about ANS or about zero officer rule or about monarchs and regents? Okie dokie. We'll keep going then. So far as coordinating or facilitating ANS activities, so remember that other slide had a ton of stuff listed off, like ANS nights, tournaments, and so forth, and that you may organize and sponsor cultural arts and science tournaments and activities. You are not limited to just those things that are listed in the Kapora. These are giving you kind of an idea, a starting point, a base point, just a nudge, basically. So your imagination is the only limitation here. So other ideas that have been done are such as the Ironcrafter. We had that at an event, and then we also had that at Book of Heroes, where the regent or another person brings in a ton of just random things, and you can use also other things that are found out in nature, like leaves, grass, flowers, rocks, whatever, and you put together something on a time frame. I know one of my most favorite things we did at Park were Try Me Days. So somebody would bring something that was new to them, and we would all share and just sit around the table and learn it together. You also have seasonal crafts like pumpkin or watermelon carving, so summer or fall, flower crowns in spring. Come Christmas time, you can do a white elephant craft kit. That was pretty fun at ELW. Or belt flag exchange. We've done those for Christmas times as well. That's pretty fun. Showcases or fashion shows or other ideas. Those are pretty good or pretty fun. At least with fashion show, you are specifically just targeting one ladder or one aspect of ANS, where showcases you can just show off people's work without the expectation of having a write-up or getting a score or being judged. So it's a little bit more lackadaisical, a little bit more laid back, and not as strict or rigid as a tournament. And then you also have bardics, which can be held. They've been doing them online. You can do them around a campfire, any place and time you would like. Technically, I guess you could have them on the field if you just break out in song, but that's neither here nor there. Then there's mandatory cultural events. The regents are responsible for organizing all mandatory cultural events while in office, such as the Dragon Master tournament. So while the previous portion of the Kapor calls for coordination or facilitation of activities and just suggests tournaments, this is specifically calling out those mandatory events. Currently, there is only one mandatory tournament, which is Dragon Master, and it is to be held at every end reign or coronation, or up to 4 weeks prior in conjunction with Weapon Master to ensure that Hydras are also being considered. Dragon Master specific rules are outlined in Appendix X2 or 10.2, and they may be changed if posted 6 weeks prior. Actually, that's been changed because here I called out that it was still something different in one section, but that's been updated since. So the regent does not have to run Dragon Master or organize it, but they may delegate it to another person. Usually this is their shadow or apprentice, or someone who's more experienced in running a Dragon Master, someone who's interested in running it. Maybe they didn't run for Regent, or they are looking forward to running for Regent the next time. So the Regent doesn't have to run it, but they may delegate it as well. But it must be ran regardless.
Hey, Obscura, Vidalia states that the Dragon Master switched from 8 weeks and now it's 6 weeks out. That was a recent change. She clarified that in the comments.
Yes.
Just let you know.
That was it was changed in one portion of the Kapora, but then it wasn't changed in like the specific section for Dragon Master, but that has been updated with this last all thing. They updated that as well. Or at least updated it so it both says 6 months and not, or 6 weeks. 6 weeks, and the other one was like 2 months. All right. So my personal thoughts on Regent Office and Dragon Master. Because Dragon Master is the major Kingdom ANS tournament, is the only one that is mandatory, and it is considered a higher level tournament. I feel personally, this is my humble opinion, take it as you'd like, I should not enter Dragon Master, even if they delegate it to someone else. It's the Regent's duty to foster ANS by coordinating and facilitating. So by entering into the Dragon Master, I feel like you're not fostering that. You are coordinating, facilitating it, sure, but you're not fostering the ANS and entering it yourself. Enter it when you're no longer in office. They happen twice a year. There are usually no limitations on an age of an entry, so if you already have things built up, just hold on to them and enter them in the next one. And those are things I suggest with people that are wanting to enter, but they don't have enough entries either. It's just hold on to them. There's another one in 6 months. Again, Dragon Master is the major Kingdom ANS tournament. If you're considering running for Regent, you should volunteer to judge, assist the Regent that is currently running it, or even shadow a Dragon Master before considering office. It may not seem like a lot, but it can be. I find it still very difficult. I've ran several, and it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of coordination. You're hurting a lot of cats, and you want to be as accurate with everything as possible. So if you haven't participated in one, running one is going to be very difficult. A Regent candidate that has never participated in Dragon Master can have a lack of confidence from the ANS community because they haven't seen one be done before. So how are they going to run one? When running a Dragon Master, you should create and test your scoring spreadsheets on the equipment you'll be using at the tournament before the tournament. I've made that mistake before and didn't test it on my laptop. Got to the site, didn't work, and I had to use my phone. So that cost me an extra hour because it was difficult to get it from what should be on the laptop to on the phone. Um, and then while paper may be more reliable and easier to manage at the time, it's difficult for entrants to get their feedback. It's difficult for judges to dictate their thoughts because it takes more time to write than it does to speak or dictate it over the phone or type for that matter. It's difficult to give accurate and timely scores to entrants because now you've got to take it from a piece of paper to a spreadsheet. And then it's harder to keep records. I didn't put that on there, but I should have. It's harder to keep records. It's easier to maintain, an electrical spreadsheet or electrical record and electronic record. Um, it's easier to keep a spreadsheet, and that way other regions can look at that as well, learn from it, than it does paper. Um, I've been guilty of that as well and have used paper. I'm like, oh, I'll scan it and I'll keep it in the G drive. No, I'll forget. And then either it doesn't get done or it ends up being just me taking pictures of it on my phone. And hopefully you can read it from a JPEG. Questions before I move on? Or even comments. This allows me to get more drink. Off. All right. So setting judging format. According to the Cabora, regents are responsible for setting the judging format for cultural tournaments that will be used throughout their reign. So the format doesn't mean just a judging scale like a 0 to 5 or 0 to 10, but it can also mean how many judges will you attempt to have per tournament? What categories will be eligible for entry? Do you plan on using a rubric? Do you have guidelines? And what are they? So candidates can take care of this before their term even starts. You can add it to your intent for candidacy. That's easy. It's already there. And you can refer back to it when time comes to actually run the tournament. What did I say I was going to do? I need to do this. So doing that, you don't have to worry about keeping up with, oh no, am I in that 6 weeks time frame? Am I outside of that 6 weeks time frame? Oh, I've already said how I was going to do it, and it's already done. If you're unsure of what judging format you will use for the next 6 months in office, you can always just default to what's in the Capora, and at least that's already readily accessible to participants, and there's not a surprise 6 weeks before the tournament. That's why I usually like to announce it in an intent, because then people can start preparing for the end of the term when that Dragon Master pops up. All right, we're going to get into event running and autocrats. Anything on ANS? There was a lot. All right. All right, so what is an autocrat? Autocrat assumes all responsibilities for an event, acts as the primary point of contact between event staff and hosting government. What does that mean? So an autocrat is going to create an event budget based on an annual event budget already approved by the BOD or the board of directors. They're going to organize a CRAT team. They're going to ensure CRATs organize their own teams to assist with their responsibilities. They're going to hopefully organize a fun, profitable, and smooth running event, create an event page and update with a list of CRATs, an event schedule, menu, site rules, and other posts to create hype and interest for their event. And the autocrat will continually check in with the other crats as the event progresses and during the event weekend to make sure they have everything they need to, again, run a successful event. I like to think of an autocrat as, an event director. So they know the parts of everybody that is on their team. They know what they should be doing so that they make sure everything goes without a hitch. Everybody is well informed on what's supposed to happen and at least attempt to stay on schedule. So, what does that have to do with being a regent? Regents are responsible for either autocrating the mandatory events during their reign or soliciting bids and selecting a new autocrat. By default, coronation and mid reign events are organized and run by respective governments with a regent acting as autocrat. Again, this is all just repetitive from the Kapora. By default, the regent is the hosting government is the autocrat of the event, responsible for organization, choose to solicit bids. The TLDR version is the regent is the autocrat for events unless they decide to solicit bids in order to delegate the responsibility to another player. Um, Between scheduling and potentially running ANS activities at Kingdom events and then coordinating the scribes for Kingdom awards, which we'll cover that later too, there's actually not a lot of wiggle room to actually run an event as autocrat. It would be very, very, very time consuming to do on top of all the other Kingdom responsibilities you have. So and again, is in purple, my personal opinion, it is in the regent's best interest to solicit and accept bids for events. Again, but you do you. That also, again, fosters experience and growth and helps other people other than yourself. So that gives other people opportunity for experience. So before you can solicit a bid, there's got to be a site. And I found this very, very interesting combing through the Corpora. The only thing it says about event sites and dates and scheduling them is that they have to be scheduled and reserved no later than 9 months prior to the event. It does not specify whose responsibility it is, but it's just been typically and traditionally delegated to the regent. As of course with the monarch and PM's approval and assistance. Mostly because it's their event too, and you need the PM to pay for the event. This can cause a site to be used outside of a regent's term, depending on if they run for and are elected for a second term. That is, them choosing a site. Sites more center to the kingdom's geographic area should be considered. However, scheduling and seasonal conflicts do occur, and sometimes the kingdom outgrows the site they used to use. We've already been in that position quite often. We're also in the position of seasonal conflicts. We have one site that's good for February. Everything else is closed just due to cold weather. In order to find a site, work it backwards. If the site must be scheduled and reserved at least 9 months prior to the event, you need to allow at least a week or two, if not longer, to scout, compare price, get agreement from the other two officers, and reserve a location. So really the process of scheduling and reserving should start at least 10 months before the event, especially if you're new to the office and are not familiar with sites that have been used in the past. And may want to do it sooner as well, just to get good dates and to make sure that all the information is posted frequently and early. So how do you solicit event bids? If bids are solicited, good, according to Kapora, the winning autocrat and bid should be selected and announced at least 3 months prior to the first day of the event, according to that bid. That's all the Kapora says on bid solicitation. So it makes it very difficult, especially for regents who have never done this before or have never made a bid or been part of a bid process. Makes it a little difficult for them. So put together some bid solicitation best practices. Again, you want to work it backwards. If the autocrat must be announced at least 3 months prior to the first day of the event, again, you need to allow at least a week or two before you receive and review submissions. The more time you allow, the more time you can help those who have submitted a bid correct any mistakes before any approval has been made. Excuse me. Another week or two should be set aside to announce the bid solicitation process so that interested parties or groups can organize and prepare that bid. So your solicitation announcement should include a list of minimum requirements as well. So you need to know what you would like to see in an event bid. You can do so by reviewing previous bids to see what they included, and then how to create an event bid is really out of scope for this class, but these are things that you need to consider if you're running or interested in running for the office as well. And again, to give yourself and potential autocrats time, the solicitation process should really start about 4 months prior to the event instead of the 3 that's just when the winning bid has to be selected and announced. So you really should give yourself a little bit more time, 4, if not more months prior to the event, to make the announcement deadline of 3 months prior to the first day. The more time you allow people to put together a bid, sometimes the better bids you'll receive, and sometimes you'll still receive just the one. You never know. It's a crapshoot. But you should at least give a little bit more time to announce you're going to solicit bids, give yourself time to review them, and before you announce and make that deadline of 3 months prior. How do you select the event bid now that you've solicited them and they're coming in? How do you even select that? There is zero in the Kapora on how to select a bid. Again, some best practices that threw together. Did they meet all the minimum requirements that you requested? That's the biggest thing. Select a bid that offers the most bang for the kingdom's buck. Do they have scheduled activities? Are there meal options? Are the attendance approximations valid and realistic? Is the budget realistic? Would all players find value in this event? And if there is more than one bid, compare the scheduled activities, compare the budgets, and compare the value and see which one not just you would like to participate and go to, but again, all players would find value in that event. Because of time needed to solicit and review bids, this may cause a bid to be approved for an event that another regent may be in office for. So this might be for an event that you're not even in office if you're soliciting them early enough. It may seem unfair, but that's just how the schedule rolls. Once that bid and autocrat is selected, that autocrat can only be removed by joint agreement of the monarch and either the prime minister or GMOR, and they are responsible for selecting the replacement. So autocrat selected is the same as the bid selected. So usually the person that submits the bid is the autocrat, as they would be that team leader. Again, 3 months is not a lot of time to organize a bid. It is a decent amount of time to implement a plan, and especially if that team is well organized. This wasn't really related, but I wanted to add it in. If you're considering autocrating, it is in your best interest to put your team together and your plan together well in advance of a solicitation so that you may start implementing your plan immediately if your bid is chosen. All right, that gives us another topic with awards. Anything on autocrats and events?
I have a question. Would you recommend cratting before running for regent?
No, I don't think it's necessary. I think with the information that should be saved in the G Drive, at least with previous bids and previous budgets, that should be enough information to help if you're going to solicit bids. Also, lean on your team. Ask questions of other people who have run events before. Ask questions of previous regents as well if you're having a hard time soliciting a bid. You know what you're looking for. when you go to an event, but also just consider other people too. So if you're not a fighter, if you're non-com, think of what combatant players are going to be looking for. Think of what um, the younger players are going to be looking for, or just outside of your wheelhouse. So being Regent is a lot of looking outside of your wheelhouse as well, of what is everybody going to enjoy. But I don't think it's necessary for you in particular to have autocrated an event to be Regent. So what else?
Do you think it's safe to assume that you should run another crap position before running for autocrat? Like do another crap position?
Oh, as far as just autocrating, um, necessarily, I didn't. Um, but I had assisted other people in other aspects. So, like, I helped with a meal, or I'd helped um, put together a budget before autocrated. But I don't think it's necessary. If you are capable of being well organized and have a well put together team and have thought your bid through very well, I think you should be fine. But the experience itself is also pretty valuable, especially with as big as our kingdom has been growing. Running a shadow or running a smaller crap position wouldn't be a detriment before you ran for autocrat or put in a bid for autocrat. Um, but I don't think it's necessary. It just depends on how you are. If you know you can do it and you want to do it, do it. If you think you need a little bit more experience, get that experience first and feel that way you'll feel a little bit more confident stepping into that role. Hopefully that answered your question. I think that was Jobs.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't see who's asking anything. I'm going blind. Anybody else have any questions while I get some more water? All right, let's talk awards. So, regents, all this again is Kapora speak, are responsible for ensuring there is a complete record of awards that they have bestowed during their term. The record should be updated and presented to their prime minister within 2 weeks of a distribution of new awards, including the event where they left office. Regents can bestow awards available to their office, listed in Section 10. And then monarchs, regents, and champions may give out standardized RFP and non-standardized letter awards up to a certain level. Regents and champions require joint approval from at least one other officer capable of awarding that order. Regents are able to award Dragon, Garber, Hydra, Lion, Owl, Rose, and Smith, again, but only with joint approval from at least one other officer capable of awarding that order. Smith is the only one that can be awarded by the champion and regent without monarch approval. Again, purple is my personal opinion, and it seems contradictory to me that part of regent's responsibilities are to foster the growth of Amp Guard in relation to each officer's duties, and then they be limited in the awards that they're able to give. I don't like that rule, but again, that's a personal opinion. Scribal commissions and ANS funds. Regents shall coordinate all kingdom level award commissions. This rule was established when the regent, established the regent as the source of kingdom level award commissions. The Scribal Guild was created for this purpose, but the utilization of the Scribal Guild is at complete discretion of the regent. At this time, the Scribal Guild consists of 59 plus artisans, plus because not everybody uses the Facebook group. I'm sure there's plenty more on the Discord group. I don't like Discord. So, and I wasn't going to cross-reference. That's beyond my scope. So at least 60, if not more, artisans. And I know there's a lot of people too that aren't in the groups that when I was regent, I reached out to and was like, hey, would you like to make something for this person? And I counted them as part of the Scribal Guild. There is also a Scribal Fund, which is oddly enough not in the Kapora. I said that here, but it's actually been updated. And actually, no, it's not in the Kapora. It's in the, I forget what they're called. It's the supplemental that's it, policies. I was like, it starts with an R. No, that's not right. Policies. It's in the policies. Thank you. It was passed in 2023, amended in 2024 to earmark $1,000 of Kingdom funds. That's $500 per 6-month term to assist in the Scribal Guild in creating Kingdom Awards and Coronets for a year. So it starts on the fall term and continues to the next fall term. This allows the regent to assist financially with scribal necessities such as art supplies, frames, fabric, trim, and transport. Because when the Scribal Guild started, there wasn't any funds, and we were mostly doing it out of the kindness of our heart, which is still that is still the thing. But there's sometimes a paywall associated with that, and I wanted to make sure that everybody was able to participate that wanted to, and the Scribal Guild funds was born throughout that. Circle of Regents. So the regent shall coordinate and preside over the Circle of Regents. So incoming regents should check to make sure each park regent or monarch for shires, if they don't have a regent, are in either a social media group, whether that be the Facebook chat or the Discord group, or have access to Regent Kingdom Discord channel. And if like a park doesn't have a regent, it's no big deal. At least somebody from the park, at least some officer, would be fine in that group chat, just to make sure that the Kingdom Regent can reach out with resources or help if need be, or see what their park needs. The Circle of Regents is basically just a help chat sometimes. If you're not sure how to run a tournament, you can ask. Want to promote a craft night and cross that with different parks. That's a great thing with the Circle of Regents. If you have questions about something ANS related, need help organizing a park or a multi-park function. So there we go. The group acts as a support group for all regents in the kingdom. And it keeps them in contact with others in similar positions as well as the Kingdom Regent. If you've got a question, sometimes you have no idea who to ask, and you just throw it in there, and that'll help. There'll be somebody who has had something similar or a similar experience, or you never know. It is very helpful for everybody. Regent's funds. These are separate from Scribal funds. The regent may spend up to 5% of the treasury every month with a maximum of $200 without an all-thing vote in order to run the group. Of course, receipts have to be turned into the Prime Minister. This also allows the regent to continue fostering the growth of Amp Guard in relation to their duties. This allows for a supply and or purchase of tournament prizes, gate favors, belt favors, and other thank you and appreciation gifts from the kingdom. Again, also help boost the Scribal funds if need be for things like Paragon Sashes and Master Hits as well. All right, before we get to the things that are not in the Kapora that could be expected, anything so far on things that are in the Kapora? All right. At least allows me to get some water. All right, organization and cat herding. So the Kingdom Regent has their hands in a lot of cookie jars. From events, autocrats awards, ANS team meetings, classes, shadows, local regent scribes, other tournaments. So the big thing for that, my takeaway with Kingdom Regent is that organization is key to keep up with everything and also get and maintain participation. If you feel like you're spam posting activities to get participation, you haven't posted enough. I used to create a schedule of how often I needed to post so that I would remember, oh, yeah, I need to do that. Send out multiple reminders monthly if monthly reminders are a good idea, until a few months away, and then weekly until a few weeks away, and then every so days until the day of. And I promise there will still be players that will miss the announcement, no matter how often you post it. But keeping that organization and posting, just to make sure everybody has ample opportunity to see and remember is the other one, because my memory has become quite bad. So I might see something, and then 2 days later, I have no recollection of seeing it. So spam it. Regent storage is something else that's not in the Kapora that you can probably expect. This includes, where was it? There's a chest right now of uh, the high table decorations for the officers at events. There's also a tub full of various supplies like clipboards, picture frames. There's Lyral said there's plastic tablecloths, a speaker, some Christmas lights. So the Regent's been holding on to the Kingdom Medic bag as well between the events, since they're responsible for selecting the autocrat. They can always pass it off to the autocrat when they get to the event. The champion has their own items. These just made more sense to be held by the Regent, since these would be used by the Regent as well. And we'd have to hope they got in with the massive amount of things the champion has to bring, and just being responsible for it was a better option than having someone else responsible for it. Traveling, especially definitely in Kingdom Office, this is a great way to network. You can ask people what they'd like to see if you're considering running for Regent, or while you are Regent, if there's something that maybe you didn't post to a schedule and somebody else would like to see something done. It's a good time to actually get some face-to-face and time and talk to people from all over the kingdom. The Regents can work with the entire monarchy team to create a travel schedule for Kingdom Parks. While I was Regent, I was already asking Regents when their big days were, so when their in-reigns and coronations were. So I already had a master list of when those occurred. So I was able to take what the rest of the monarchy team wanted to travel to and coordinate the dates accordingly. That's what I put next. So you can work with the local regents to make it also a mini event day, boost the signal to the kingdom and other local parks, and making it maybe even a regional park day, or even assist with local and or regional activities, especially if they're having one larger park visit and then getting the smaller parks there, or even boosting a small park and just going out to a small park and raiding the crap out of them, and maybe throw an A&S tournament in there, doing some food. You never know. So travel and organization, it's also considered not in the Kapora, but you can possibly expect it to be a regent duty as well. Before we get to how to become a regent, which is the shortest part, I don't remember how many slides there are, probably just a couple. Any questions? Or comments or concerns? All right, so now that you know what the kingdom responsibilities are, both written and perceived, how do you become a kingdom regent? The first way is election. Regents are elected by the citizens of the Kingdom of Park. You must be a citizen of the kingdom or chapter in which you will hold the office. This is for kingdom. You have to be a citizen of the kingdom, have to be minimum 14 years old, sign a waiver, have a home chapter, pay your dues, pass a Reeve and Kapora test with a minimum score of 70%, make a public declaration of intent to run in a plan of action, have a reasonable and publicly accessible method to be contacted, and not hold any office by the time you would assume office. Or you can be appointed. Per the zero officer rule, in the event that an officer role becomes vacant for whatever reason, the monarch will be tasked with appointing a willing citizen to fulfill the role for the remainder term. Citizens appointed this way are considered pro tem. And I outlined willing because you don't want to just say this person is now our regent and they have no clue what you're talking about. Never seen it done before. Might be funny for like 2 seconds or as a joke, but you know. So what is the plan of action, since that's something you have to have to be elected? Regent candidates, good grief, must make a public declaration. The interpretation here is that they must make a public post about what they plan to do in office beforehand, and should they become elected. This includes, not limited to, these are again my opinions, your goals. Dragon Master rules are a good thing to put into your declaration as well. If you'll be facilitating Dragon Master, or are you going to delegate it? Will you have a shadow to learn about the office while you're doing it? Will you be using the Scribal Guild for kingdom level awards? Will you be making scrolls for 8, 9, and 10 level awards? Will you be trying to facilitate classes and finding classes throughout your term? And if you are any lined up? Do you have ideas on the topics you want to see? Will there be other tournaments other than Dragon Master? Will you be soliciting bids for events, or will you do it yourself? Do you know the criteria for the bids that you will be soliciting? You also may want to include any relevant experience you have as a park regent, any other park office, Dragon Master judge, event autocrat. If you've been regent before, maybe in another kingdom as well. And then why should you be the candidate that they vote for? Pro tem regents don't have to post a plan of action since you're being given that position, but it is a good practice either way just to have some goals that you'd like to meet during your term, or at least during the remainder of the term. And some final thoughts. Kingdom Regents juggle a lot of responsibilities. Again, they have a lot of hands in a lot of cookie jars. Some of these are assumed and not in the corpora, and it can be like herding multiple colonies of cats. So you've got the other kingdom officers you're trying to wrangle together as well. Your regents, your Scrabble Guild, your autocrats, and so much more sometimes it seems. Responsibilities of regent directly impact all players. If you think about it, your event sites, which again are not in the corpora, your event autocrats, scribes for high level awards. These impact all players, whether you're non-com or not, or whether you enter A&S or not. Before you run or are appointed for a regent, you should understand your responsibilities. Have participated in Dragon Master in some way by entering, judging, or shadowing. You best be ready to multitask. It is a lot. Understand that you will never, ever, ever make everyone happy. Your best job is to try to make as many people happy as possible, but not everyone's going to be. So you just do your best. And if you're up to the task, don't be afraid to reach out to previous regents for help, advice, support. That's going to be your lifeline sometimes. It's good to have a good support group in and out of the game, because sometimes you need to pause from the game and have your own time and have your own life outside of the game. Make time for yourself, and Godspeed.